I've always thought Valentine's Day was a fun time to decorate and do crafts with the kids. I like the red heart accents we see at that time of year and find it an inspiring way to get through the cold February months. I'm Cherie Burbach, a mixed media artist and writer, and I want to show you a recent project I did that involved using up scraps and creating a decorative heart for Valentine's Day. I've created this decorative heart project that you can do in a short amount of time with inexpensive supplies. There are also several ways you can personalize this project, which I'll highlight at the end. This decorative heart project is done in a mixed media style, which is the type of style I paint in. Mixed media generally means we use a variety of different mediums or paints and different elements like collage, lace, wood. Very often, we also work on non-traditional surfaces. Mixed media is known for pattern and texture. One thing I personally enjoy about painting this way is the ability to combine items in my work that have personal meaning to me. So something even as simple as a Valentine's Day wooden heart can be filled with personal memories. I like to keep the supplies for a project like this simple and inexpensive. That way, you can do something creative and fun with the kids, for example, on a tight time schedule and for not a lot of money. For this project, I've got many supplies, including the main wooden heart we'll decorate, and I found most of them at the dollar store or just had them laying around the house. Wooden hearts like the one I'm using can also be found at craft stores or big box stores. The one I bought at the dollar store was very thin, but that's okay because we'll be beefing it up with collage, so it'll be more sturdy and better able to hold the paint that we'll use. In addition to the heart, we'll use paint, as I mentioned, and I'm using an inexpensive acrylic paint that I purchased at a big box store. Inexpensive paint works best for this actually because it's light and it creates a nice wash that goes over the collage layers. If you want to increase the level of pigment, you can go over it again and again until you're happy with the amount of color. But paints like this allow you to go slowly, which is the best way to create. For the collage elements, I used a variety of papers I happen to have on hand. But at the end of the project, I'll be offering suggestions for items to use that will personalize this project and make it an interesting way to preserve memories. I'm using a gel medium to collage the papers on the board, but Mod Podge will also work very well. A water bottle, paintbrush, foam brush, paper plate, and paper towels are good items to keep on hand also. And finally, if you have some scrap lace on hand, we'll use that to add some final embellishments. So let's begin. Tear the papers you collected into small pieces and begin to adhere them to the board. What I do is spread a thin layer on the surface of the wood, and if the paper is thin, I can stick it directly on the heart. If the papers are a bit thicker, as some of the wrapping paper I'm using or scrapbook pages are, then I also add a bit of the gel medium or glue to the back of that as well. Use thin coats of gel medium or glue, but do make sure you spread it out evenly. You'll be covering the center area, filling it in as you would a puzzle. When I'm doing collage, I do not worry about what the final product will look like or if the papers I'm using go together. I choose pieces I like and adhere them to the wood. I find that working quickly and organically can help you hone into your instincts when it comes to creating an interesting piece of collage like this. So don't overthink it. When the collage layer is dry, begin by adding paint to the sides of the heart. Work inward, feathering in the edges of the paint to meet the collage pieces. Go lightly with the paint and work until you're happy with the coverage and vibrancy. I like to use a paper towel as I paint to help control the level of pigment. When you've gone all the way around your heart, use the lighter color paint as a wash, lightly adding it to the edges of the red. Use your paper towel and some water to thin down the paint and feather it in. Repeat this process until you have the level of pigment you desire while still allowing the collage elements to show through. The paint acts as a unifier in pulling together the collage and overall design, but be careful not to cover up the elements too much. We're trying to have everything come together, not be hidden. It's a delicate balance. When you're satisfied with everything, let this layer dry completely before moving on to the next step. When the front layer is completely dry, it's time to work on the back. You could make the back of this heart look the same as the front, using similar papers and the same color paint, or you could vary it. I chose to use lighter paint colors to help distinguish the look, but use the same collection of papers I had gathered for the front. Now, we're almost finished, but first let's paint the back of the heart. Once again, you could choose a color similar to the front side or do something totally different. I chose to use lighter shades on the back. So for this side, I started with the white and then added the pink, working light to dark, which is the opposite of what I did on the front side. I did this to demonstrate the versatility of washes. You can start off with a white wash, as I did on this layer, or go for a darker color and add depth by slowly adding highlights. Either way works. When you're finished, let everything dry. So now we get to the embellishing part, my favorite step. I like using lace in my art and craft projects because I think it adds an interesting textural element, and I especially enjoy using leftover lace I get at thrift stores or find in my own sewing basket. There is something about using my scraps that really makes me happy. Using lace in this project is optional, but if you have some around, feel free to make use of it. Simply cut off a piece and tie it around the string hanger that holds the heart. Use as much or as little as you see fit. I used just a few pieces. So in a short amount of time, you've made a mixed media style heart decoration. Before you move on to your next craft project, let me give you some ideas to further personalize this decoration and make it a memory keeper for you. For instance, instead of random collage papers, you could use photographs or copies of photographs, love letters, your kids' artwork, favorite lines from poetry, Bible verses, your family motto, a collection of cards from flower deliveries, or Valentine cards you receive. Instead of paint color along the edges, you could embellish with markers, write a note to your loved one, put the date along the edge, or maybe write the word love in different languages. Instead of lace to finish off the piece, you could use scraps of fabric, slips of paper, beads, strips of old clothes, or pieces of embroidery. By making this project personal to you, it becomes a way to remember special moments in your life, which to me is part of the fun of Valentine's Day. You could make this a yearly event with your kids, having them make these hearts for grandparents or their favorite friend. There are many possibilities on how you can create a decorated heart that is most meaningful to you. And if you create one yourself, tag me on social media and show me. Happy creating!